Hi, I'm Nkululeko Tshabalala, Senior Program Manager at the Pan-African Collective for Evidence, and I also co-lead the work around the Youth Employment Evidence and Insights Hub, also known as YEEIH.
Hi, my name is Zafeer Ravat. I am the Director of Programs and Impact at the Pan-African Collective for Evidence, and I support Nkululeko on the delivery for YEEIH activities.
Hi, I'm Ruvimbo Nhandara. I'm a researcher at PACE. I support the research activities on YEEIH.
Hi, I'm Tanya Mdlalose and I'm a researcher at PACE and I support the knowledge production and research activities as part of the YEEIH team.
So I think from my point of view, the YEEIH program really centered around bridging the gap between evidence generation and decision making. So a big part of it was obviously our work around the production of rapid evidence reviews, the AI enhanced repository, and I think a number of the engagement activities that we had, we managed to also fit in a few really interesting parts around the podcast series that we launched late last year. So in late 2025. So I think that was quite interesting as well. But importantly also was around how highly collaborative it was. So the working with multiple organizations from different countries, especially across the continent of Africa, I think was quite a feature as well. And I think in terms of our impact, it goes without saying that we did manage to produce insights that were ready for program teams to work with, especially in supporting their role. So their role centered obviously around the program design, adaptation, and implementation. So a big part of our role was to make sure that our insights were ready for decisions. I think also the bringing together of the evidence users and the evidence intermediaries and producers. I think a number of our engagements touched on that. We had 2 workshops at some point. We had a roundtable dialogue, and we also, of course, had the podcast series. So that was an important part of the work on YEEIH. And I think generally for EIDM in the context of the youth employment programming in general, I do think it was quite important. So it was a crucial role also in thinking around inclusion both in how we produce our outputs, having diverse teams, not only from different countries, but ensuring that there's the youth aspect, ensuring that the youth are also engaged and ready to learn. So the capacity sharing was also quite important.
I think you raised some really nice points. On a whole, I think the partnership element beyond kind of the project, is really strong. I think we've made partners that we now can treat as lifelong friends in some cases, and also, organizations that we really enjoyed working with. And I think there's, like you did mention, the collaborative efforts, right, being a fundamental core of the project. And I think that is a really key area that enabled the project to develop outputs that are applicable to multiple different audiences. And there are different perspectives that have constantly been involved in developing a lot of the really nice insights and reviews and responses that were done. And then also, I think there's also a strong element of some of the public goods that we provided, right? So we have a living evidence map with interventions on young women and employment programs, which is really nice, and it's strictly based on the African context. So, as far as I know, it's the only one out there that provides this level of detail. And similarly, there are some really interesting briefs that summarize some of the really amazing work that through the partnership that was developed, and a lot of collaboration that were developed. And I think throwing those insights and packaging it with really, in a way that is, easy to understand, and making the actual work very, very disseminatable. I don't know if that's the right word, but, being able to disseminate our work in a way like that, I think that's been a really nice overall impact that the project has had and does contribute to the evidence ecosystem.
So it was very nice to work on the project, especially the collaboration aspect, to also engage with the Francophone colleagues. And it meant a lot to me as being part of the youth to find such good work being done in the space. It is nice to see that we are thinking forward in terms of incorporating young women in entrepreneurship. so that they come out of poverty. It is very good to see. Then in terms of the impact, I strongly believe that it will inform policy, the evidence base, the materials that have been produced, the thematic briefs, those are easy to follow. Policymakers can use them and incorporate them and move forward with the interventions and strategies to include women in the movement.
Yeah, just building on from what the team has already shared about the YEEIH project, I think what stood out to me is not the mere fact that it's just a project, but it's a project that not only builds on the knowledge hub, but it's also very much contextual based, because it was also bringing out insights about nuances around women and unemployment issues. So I think that makes the actual evidence itself very usable and also accessible to people that actually need it. So I think that also adds on to the impacts that it actually has, like at a larger scale outside of research itself. But for people that actually need this type of research, the knowledge users, are they going to be able to use this research? And also, I like what my team members have already highlighted. The project was very important in cultivating different relationships through collaboration. So that stakeholder engagement at different levels, it was very interesting, and to be part of that's very, I'm proud of that. And yeah, it was a really, really great work.
And I think just one point that also stood out to me a lot was how we incorporated youth as an advisory team, right? I think the level of inputs for each of the synthesis and the scoping, right, was done in consultation with youth. And I find that a really nice innovation that I think the project team has worked on. And it's been really nice and encouraging also to see the types of perspectives that come from engaging youth at different levels of the research process.
So I think one of the major highlights was how we were able to deploy the rapid response model that we built to ensure that we can deliver insights within 6 to 8 weeks. I think that was quite a mammoth effort from the entire team, and it was one of the pillars of our work in terms of delivering evidence that is ready for program teams to interact with.
Yeah, and I think another really nice element is we were able to incorporate AI to our processes. And I think one of the really nice elements was the chatbot that we developed, Chatty IDM, and incorporated to the evidence map we have on youth employment of women.
Then another success that I would like to add to that is the actual outputs, such as the thematic briefs that we were able to produce, which are easy to read and follow through. They do make a good addition to the evidence base.
Adding on to that is that the thematic briefs also are a reflection of what the YEEIH project was also about, which is also having evidence that is inclusive. And the nice thing, the team itself is a representation of inclusivity and equality, as you can see.